Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. I knew this fight was gonna be a little. That was going way too well. Come on. That. Another one of these. Good way. Good way. Come on. One more. Oh. One more hit. One more hit. One more hit. Come on. Yes. Yes. Okay. Now that feels good. Suck that. Suck it. All right. Woo. Okay. On to the next one, I guess, huh? All right. So as you can probably already tell by the thumbnail and the title, obviously I started playing Bloodborne, and I'm having a real struggle with it. But I don't say that necessarily in a negative way. I am very familiar with the Souls games. I've played Dark Souls 1 through 3, and I know how difficult From Software likes to make their games. And I've beaten all three of those games, and I played most of the DLC for all three of them. So it really makes me wonder why, and I know this is like a recurring theme on my channel when it comes to PlayStation games specifically, but this game, more so than any other game, more so than God of War, Uncharted, even The Last of Us, I cannot believe I waited this long to play Bloodborne, because it came out in 2015, and I knew, because it's a From Software game, that it was going to be similar, and I saw a little bit of gameplay here and there. I knew it was going to be very, very similar to the Dark Souls games, but I didn't realize just how similar it was. And I don't say that in a bad way. I say that in a very good way, because I love the Dark Souls games. They're one of my, I think it's safe to say it's like within my top 3 favorite game franchises of all time. So now that I'm playing Bloodborne, I have probably about 12 hours so far, maybe a little bit more, give or take. And there's just a few things that really caught me off guard. I went into this game thinking, I beat Dark Souls 1 through 3. This game's going to be no problem. Oh, that was a mistake. That was a huge mistake, because the game is brutal, man. Like, I'm talking, like, it's pushing me to my limit brutal. And it's interesting because no matter how frustrated I get, I ultimately know, and this is why I respect From Software so much with their game design, no matter how crushing it is, no matter how many times I die, I know that when the frustration's put aside and I simmer down, I think about what I did and how I approached it, and I can realize that it was my fault. Like, it was really just my fault, and I could have prevented that death. But the main difference between Bloodborne and Dark Souls, I have to say, and I'm not going to try to turn this video just into a complete comparison to Dark Souls, but the biggest difference, and the thing that caught me most off guard, was probably the fact that you really cannot play defensively in this. And I like that. Like, that to me is what really forced me to change up how I play a Soulsborne game. I'm used to being able to rely on my shield, to play more methodically, to play more slowly, and to have more leeway in how I'm going to plan out my attacks. But in this game, it feels, the best way I can describe it is, it constantly feels like my back is against the wall. And it's such a cool feeling at times. Like, the best feeling of Bloodborne by far so far is when I feel like my back's against the wall, I'm outnumbered, there's multiple enemies, and my health is being, whittled away, and my only salvation, essentially, is going to be just going berserk as I can, and being as aggressive as I can, and pushing back as hard as I can. And I think that is really, from what I've played so far, the main theme of Bloodborne. Is it's very very suppressive. Like, the game and the world wants to suppress you, and it wants to oppress you, and all Souls games have been that way, but Bloodborne it takes it to another level, man. And I was not expecting it, and it has pushed me in some ways. Like I'm trying to. The first boss in particular, like, really, really got to me, because a lot of people told me just push through the first section, MBG. You know, it's really hard, and you guys were not kidding. The first area and the first boss, it really feels like it's the test. Like, if you can't get past this, you're just not going to be able to complete this game. And I spent so much time. I must have died like upwards of 30 times, probably more than that, honestly, in the first area. And on the first boss, it took me, I don't even know how many tries. And it really started to feel like, oh man, like, I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm not going to be able to beat this. And I went from being super angry, super frustrated, to just straight up feeling depressed because it's not a great feeling, you know, to play a game and just genuinely feel like I'm not good enough. Like, I'm not going to be able to get good. But, you know, I persisted, and I think that's what's just so awesome about Bloodborne, from what I've played so far, is it really rewards your persistence, and it really tests your will to be able to just keep getting back up, getting back in there, getting in the thick of it, and just be willing to accept that you're gonna get destroyed over and over and over and over again. But if you persist, if you just keep going back at it, you're gonna get better. You are going to get better. And my experience with the first area and the first boss, I think that was like the biggest lesson the game taught me, you know, because it really pushed me down and said, hey, you're gonna have to do better than that. And I kept persisting, and I finally beat the first boss. And when I did, it was an insanely gratifying feeling, and it felt amazing, and it really renewed my excitement to continue down the game, because when I kept dying over and over again, it started to depress me to think that I'm not going to be able to experience this game, because I'm not going to be good enough to experience the game. And so when I finally beat it and I finally accomplished that, and I knew I could move on, knowing full well it's probably going to get even more challenging, but just being able to overcome that first hump, it really, really made me feel great. And I haven't felt this good playing a game in a very long time when it comes to the highs and lows. You know, I feel like when playing other games recently, it's been pretty consistent. Like, you know, there's a little bit, there's a lot of enjoyment, and there's a little bit of maybe frustration here and there. But when it comes to Bloodborne, man, it is like a seesaw, and it's very extreme. And I've really learned a lot while playing this game about, you know, what is required, or what's going to be required to fully complete Bloodborne. And I still don't know how much more I have left to go. I think I've beaten about like 7 bosses at this point, or 8 bosses. And they've all been very challenging, some more challenging than others for sure. I haven't really been playing co-op too much, because I just kind of, unless I'm really in a pinch, there have been a few times where I've tried to play co-op to get some help through certain sections. Surprisingly, one of the more difficult aspects of the game, again, that caught me off guard, is when I'm fighting other hunters, not PvP, it's still PvE, but the hunters in the world, in the game world, and how tough they are, man. Like, they are brutal, and they are tougher than pretty much all other enemies. And that caught me off guard, because I just wasn't expecting that. Like, I knew they were going to be tough, and I know it's supposed to simulate what it's like to have a PvP battle, but man, you know, like, they really, really push you there. And overall, when it comes to Bloodborne, man, I was not ready. I was not ready for just how challenging this game was going to be, and how much it was going to pretty much test my persistence and my will to continue, even though I'm dying like 30 times in a row. And there have been multiple times where I just had to put the game down for a little bit, take a break, and come back to it the next day. And that's, I think, another reason why it's going to take me a while to beat this game. But overall, I'm loving it, man. Like, it is a true experience, and I'm starting to understand why people are so passionate about Bloodborne, and why so many people are dying to get a Bloodborne 2, because I haven't even talked about the story yet, which I'm not going to talk about too much because, as you know, if you're familiar with the Souls games, the story, there is a very, very rich, deep story there, but it's there to uncover if you're willing to look for it. It's not going to present everything right in front of you and explain everything to you. A lot of the story is actually within the item descriptions, and I like how a lot of what made the Dark Souls games great is very clearly what makes Bloodborne great, but the story, the darkness, the horror of this, and just the overall theme of this world is fantastic. Like, it is so disturbing on many levels that just games like the Dark Souls games just haven't reached that level of horror. You know, I don't even know if it's horror, but just this gothic theme where it's just, you know, just the way the creatures look and behave, it's just very disturbing. And I think that Bloodborne, with its story, has done, from what I've played so far, has done an absolutely phenomenal job in making me as the player feel like I'm truly alone, and like in a world that it's just you fight or you die. You fight or you die. And if you don't fight, you're going to die, and you're never gonna. I'm assuming, like, they call it the hunter's dream, so I'm assuming that as we progress through the story, some things are going to start to unfold, and it's going to start to be, you know, hopefully going to get some answers as to, like, am I actually in a dream? Is this actually the real world, and what's become of it? It's very interesting and intriguing, and it really kind of makes me, even though the story itself isn't necessarily what's pushing me to continue forward, it's kind of like understanding my place in the world, that really, and hopefully finding an answer to that question, and getting an answer to that question that's really making me want to continue on, and to see, like, is there an end goal here? What is the end goal? Do I just kill all the monsters and everything goes back to normal? Do I become one myself? Something like that. I mean, it's becoming kind of clear that something is up here, and you're gonna figure out more as you go along. So one other thing I really should have mentioned earlier when I was talking about the combat and the gameplay, and how just aggressive and brutal it is. The weapons are very unique and very interesting, and I've enjoyed every weapon that I've used so far. I haven't used a ton of them. I think I'm using Ludwig's Holy Sword right now, and that has really been getting me through, and I'm really enjoying that weapon. I think some people said that it's like a very casual weapon, but hey, I don't care, man. Whatever's going to help me get through this game, just, you know, a little bit easier and help me out, I'm gonna do that. But the most interesting gameplay mechanic, I have to say, by far, has to do with the health and the HP system, where obviously you have blood vials and you can run out of them, and I've definitely had to rely on them. But the fact that when you lose health, it gives you the chance where, like, if you're willing to be aggressive and not run away and not roll away and just, like, push harder and start really trying to get some attacks in, you can recover the lost HP. Not all of it, but a good chunk of it, depending on how aggressive you're going to be. And I think that's such a genius mechanic woven into this game, because it really just kind of hits home the entire theme of the game, and it really makes it so that all throughout the game, it's just a constant reminder of what type of world you're in. And it's the type of world where the only way you're gonna get through it is by being a beast yourself, by going out there and not being afraid to just get crazy, to just go berserk, to just let loose and really just do some damage, man. Because if you try to go in this, and I know, if you try to go in this thinking you're going to play it like Dark Souls and you're going to succeed, you are not. You are not. You're going to have to use your reflexes. You're going to have to really start to understand attacks, because you can't block attacks. So you really have to take your time. And in case you can't tell, I'm really, really, really enjoying Bloodborne. I mean, it's tough. It's brutal. I was not ready for it. But now that I'm like 12 to 15 hours into it, man, like I'm really starting to enjoy it. And I'm really finding that I keep wanting to play it more and more. And I am eager to complete it. And I am going to try to complete the DLC as well, because I've heard really good things about it. And when I do that, I will do my full final review of the game. And I'm sure not much of what I have to say now will change, except maybe regarding the story and figuring out what's going to happen, and maybe some other bosses and surprises that present itself along the way. But yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for this video, guys. I know a lot of you have been eagerly anticipating it, so hopefully it lived up, and hopefully you enjoyed what I had to say about it and my thoughts on it. So at this point, I'm going to ask you to let me know what you think about what I think down in the comments below. What has your experience been like with Bloodborne? Have you had a similar experience to me? Have you had an easier experience and a worse experience? I will be very interested to see what you guys have to say. Be sure to leave the video a like if you did enjoy it. It really helps it out, and it shows me that you guys are enjoying the content I'm putting out here. It's the easiest way for you guys to let me know you're enjoying it and you want more content like this. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit that bell notification icon as well. You can be notified anytime I upload a new video, and feel free to share the video out on top of all that, because that helps tremendously as well. But until next time, guys, take care.